Everybody, welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today my guest is a good friend of mine in the Mountain Time Zone, Scotty Too Hottie, Scott Evans. Scott, what's going on, buddy?
I'm just so glad to be on this show. Thank you for the invitation, my friend.
Well, you and I talked, and I was like saying, dude, I gotta get you on there. A big supporter of the sport, and we appreciate everything you've done and stuff. But I saw you from afar, like, okay, you're going to these tournaments, you're killing it. Tournament in, tournament out. It's like you go in there, clock in, kick some butt, clock out. See you later. I'm going home, getting ready for the next one. And I got to say, man, I'm very impressed with that. So tell everybody in the chat out there, how'd you stumble upon the sport? Because you are coming from a state where arm wrestling is greatness. So explain that.
And the irony about that is I didn't even know that when I was ready to join. So one of my sons, Carter, one of my younger sons, brought to my attention that this was a real sport. He was a YouTube watcher. He was an arm wrestling fan. He brought to me, said, "Dad, you arm wrestle everybody all the time. Check this out. It's real." He showed me Devin Larrett, John Brzezinski, all those guys. And I'm like, I had no idea. I mean, I watched over the top, but I had no idea that it was a real paid athlete sport. So I'm like, okay, got to find out where my local place is to sign up. And I'm signing up immediately. Wasted no time. Found Bob Brown through David Wilson on social media. David Wilson says, well, there's actually a guy closer to your house named Justin Green. Tell him I sent you. The rest is history. And here we are 3.5 years later. But I'm that guy that once I got in, I was there at every practice and then some, every tournament and then some, baptized by fire and just addicted. But Justin Green was the first one to train me.
Right.
I got a lot of names to thank, but the first one is Justin Green.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, Justin and I go way back. He was one of my earliest super matches in the sport, back in the day. And, and it's always cool to go to Utah, and we'll actually compete against those guys. The first time I ever went was last fall, and we did the World Series of Arm Wrestling qualifier there in Roy, Utah. So that was always a blast. And, when I was there, I was kind of in uncharted waters because I'm thinking, man, it's great. It's because for those out there in the chat watching, you guys got to understand, Utah, who lived there? Brzezinski used to live there. Todd Hutchins lived there for a while. You still got Cody Merritt still there. Bob Brown, Justin Green, Jordan Seal, Robert Baxter. The list goes on and on. So when you go down there and you realize, like, man, there's some serious arm wrestlers there. I cannot explain to you and everybody else out there the knowledge everybody has of that sport in there. Tell us, what have you observed or absorbed as far as knowledge-wise in that?
We don't have time in this show, but I'll try to do my best. When you said John Brzezinski, when I started 3.5 years ago, it was his comeback.
Right.
His daughters and his grandchildren still live here in Utah, even though he moved to Arizona.
Right.
So when he made his comeback, he came out here to train with us. He came out here for his first comeback tournament at the Rainbow Saloon at a suicide tournament of Justin's. And that was my first tournament. So my first tournament had John Brzezinski in it and the rest.
Okay.
Of it. And since Justin Green, I've evolved onto Cody Spur Merritt. And I'm part of his team. And now I'm training twice a week instead of once a week. So then I go over to also Attitude Arm Sports, which is Angela Miller and her husband, Patrick Miller.
Right.
So I know a lot of guys I talk to, they only do one practice a week. I used to be only able to do one practice a week. Now I do two. Sometimes a guy comes over to my house, so sometimes I'm doing 3 times a week. And okay. I'm all about table time. When I met John Brzezinski at the beginning, and I listened to the man, the Guinness World Record man, he said, table time. And I said, okay, table time. I lift weights, but my table time's 90% more than my lifting. For sure.
And here's the thing, Scott, because depending on who you are, because not everybody's going to be the same, right? And so what I mean by this, and this is no disrespect out there, but this is just the facts, right? I can do everything John Brzezinski does to a T verbatim doesn't mean I'm gonna pull like him, right?
Right.
So
right.
we're talking about workouts, all that. I can do everything. Look at it this way, where
Genetics.
you got
Genetics.
Yeah, there's that.
Genetics.
Look at
and drinking Utah holy water. Yeah.
Holy water, right? Table time. That worked for him. Whereas you look at maybe a Topzilla or maybe Michael Todd, they're always in the gym. That works for them. So at some point, you got to find a happy medium, but you also got to find what works best for you. And, like I said, you sat there and you're like, you know what? I'm going to listen to this guy, that guy there, absorb any kind of information they can have and absorb it. But then you also got to mix it in your own. Like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this, that, and the other, put your own little recipe and create something of your own that benefits you. Do you agree?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the other thing, when I say table time, if I'm not getting my table time, I'm on the table at home pulling bands. I'm a big believer in bands. And I learned that from Kevin Butts. Everybody knows who Kevin Butts is, world champion. And so if I'm not getting with the real hand on the table, I'm getting with bands, and I'm getting that resistance. That's the same emulation. Yes, you can do that with weights, but the bands just have it where it's tendons.
Yes.
And I focus on tendons. I focus on hand, wrist, tendons throughout. You got to have a strong arm, but if you don't have a hand and wrist to go with that arm, you're not going to get it.
Right. And your benefit where you go, okay, well, on this day, I could train with this team. On that day, I could train with that team. Not everybody can sit there and say that. And you're always within an earshot.
I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. And we went back in this conversation of, I said, when I started here, I didn't know I was in the right state. I didn't know I was with the right people. I didn't know anything. But I found out really quick, that I was with the right people and the right place and the right time. Brazink had come back and was kind of infused in our thing. In all the people, the arm wrestling family, you included, everybody, it's like my addiction to the sport isn't just the arm on the table, it's the people. It's the people. Oh my gosh, the family, the people. I can't say a bad thing about anybody in this sport.
I'll tell you what, and I'll do you one better, because when I went down there last year to Utah, I have somebody who's over there now, and they always text message me, hey, you should move here because the homes are affordable. You can do this, you can do that. And so I'm constantly getting that maybe at least once, if not twice a week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, they really want my wife and my whole family to move over there. So that's always cool, but I mean, I like Utah and stuff. Now, let's talk about your tournament, okay?
Okay.
You just recently came off Idaho State, did you not?
Yes. I don't live in Idaho, but I am the super heavyweight champion of Idaho. I won undefeated first Masters, undefeated first right pro supers, undefeated first left pro supers. It was my day. My hand and wrist were there on that day. Okay. My arm is usually there. Sometimes my wrist is not. That day, my wrist was there.
Okay.
My wrist was there.
Also, you and I have in common was the fact that, I competed in the first ever Aries 64-man Super Series.
Yeah.
And I did, we did the 240 class back in Colorado back in March. Well, you also did the super heavyweight version. Tell us about that.
Well, once in a while, I have a day I get my butt kicked. That was one of them. The Super 64, I went out there, had the time of my life, took my wife. Shout out Melanie Evans, my number one supporter, cheerleader fan.
Is she watching?
I don't think so, but she might watch later. Okay. Now, she went with me. We had the time of our life. So even though I got my butt kicked in the Super 64, we had a great time. And on the days I lose, those are the days I learn. When I win, I get complacent. I don't learn. But on the days I lose, I'm back watching those videos. I'm back studying. I'm back thinking, and I'm training 10 times harder when I always thought I was training as hard as I could. Well, I'm finding a way to train harder now. So I'm not mad at the days I lose. Those are the days that keep me going.
Do you remember where you placed that in the 64?
Nope, don't want to.
So, what does a normal Scott Evans training look like? Like fresh off a tournament.
Yeah.
After a win, what is the mindset going back to training? What does that look like?
It's still motivated off of a win. It's still motivated, but it's not as motivated as coming off of a loss. I religiously hit practice. It doesn't matter what my schedule is, how I'm feeling. I go to practice twice a week, if not 3 times a week. Right. If I'm sick, if I'm this, if I'm that, I show up to practice. Been that way for 3.5 years since I started. That's just a part of eating and breathing and sleeping is the same as going to practice.
Okay.
Now when I go to Cody Merritt's, I might only spend an hour or 2. When I go to the other one, so that's Thursday nights.
Yeah.
Team Spur, Cody Merritt's, I might only go an hour or 2. It's a little bit further of a drive. When I go on Sundays to my other practice, just a few days later, I'll spend 3 or 4 hours going a little bit more of a duration. So between the two, I'm really beating myself up. And so in between, I don't do a lot. In between those practices at table time, I don't do a lot of lifting. But I do, and I'll admit it, the Devin Larratt lift. I do rising because I believe in the riser.
Yeah.
So I do at home. I do the riser stuff here and there. I do. But like full on lifting like a bodybuilder, nah, not really.
Right. You know what? It's okay to try things that other people do. We've all sat there and saw something on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or whatnot. You saw a video of someone doing something, and you say to yourself, I'm going to try that just to see what happens. And I know I'm a guy that does this. I'll try it. If I like it, I'll stick with it for a little bit. If I don't like it, throw it away, do something else. So I'm always kind of changing things up. Now, I know when I lose, I'm thinking, all right, depending on where I'm at, I'm either car ride home, plane ride home. I'm like, what the fuck happened? I'm thinking, all right, how did I lose? Is it my foot placement? Is it my elbow placement? Was I straight or was I like turned in? I couldn't top up. Whatever the case may be.
How did I start? Right.
Yeah. I'm digesting everything. And I know sometimes, especially if you have a corner guy in a super match, they tend to see things that you don't see, but also you're seeing things that they can't see. So it's always, kind of one of those things, do you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so going along with what we're saying, just for me, the setup is everything. When we're talking about, if you want to go back and you want to go, why did I lose? I've lost to guys that have never beat me because my setup wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about the setup. All about the setup. If you can get the right setup and you can get, even with the ref, you can get comfortable enough. You're never going to be comfortable, but comfortable enough. Those little pluses add up. You don't want minuses in the setup.
And for me, I agree because there's been matches where I've lost during the setup because my fear is like, hey, let's just get the match going. Fuck it, whatever. My issue is the fact that I don't want to sit there and mess around for 30, 40 seconds in the setup.
Right.
And then nowadays, people are kind of, smart where I'm going to burn my opponent's hand up in the setup.
You out. Yeah.
Right. That way I have an advantage. I mean, I know that trick, and there's always some kind of tricks of the trade in this sport, So my fear is like, you know what? I ain't got time for this. Let's go ahead and do it. I'll give in. I'll figure it out on the go.
I totally agree with you 100%.
But now let's talk about super matches, because now ever since you got in the sport, you've been gung-ho, guns blazing, going to tournaments and super matches, throwing it down. Yeah. So far up to this date, as of September 24th, your super matches, right?
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about those so far?
Really good. Now, when I'm going to go back in time a year ago to September, and you were there, I can't give out the win or the loss because it's going to be on television. World Series of Arm Wrestling. Shout out Greg Sharp. My very first super match, you were there. It was Robbie Topi. I respectfully asked him. He accepted, and we had a super match. And I learned a lot that day and since then. Okay, that was my first super match. Can't talk about the end. Y'all watch it on TV and Tubi TV. Locked and loaded.
Yes.
Now going forward from my very first super match, and at that time I was, I'm going to say a year and a half in at that time to 2 years in. 2 years in at that 2 years in at that time for my first super match.
Right.
Robbie Opie. Then when I switched from Tactical Arms team to Team Spur, Cody Merritt.
Okay.
When I switch over there, he does this thing. Cody Spur Merritt does this thing where you're throwing, when you come on the team, you're throwing at the bottom of ranking list.
I've seen that.
He wants to motivate us, which I love this. I'm so competitive. That's why I'm in this competitive sport. That he, I came in, I'm thrown at the bottom, and he says, you can only call out the person right above you. You can't call out the top guy and just jump to the top and beat the top guy.
Earn
one
your
at
way.
a time. One at a time.
Right.
So I did it week after week or every other week or what I could as fast as I could to get to top number one right. And I am right now on Cody Spur Merritt's team, number one right. Right now.
Congrats. Because we're talking.
To me, that's something.
No, I mean, no, there's nothing wrong with that, because everybody has a different kind of motivation within their team for practices, right? Because we all know, I know it's practice, but there's also a practice within the
practice.
practice.
Matter. Just agree. Practice wins matter.
Oh, don't worry. I got a couple.
Practice losses don't.
Hey, I got a couple T-shirts that actually say that practice wins matter. So yeah. But I will say this though, because we've all had those guys in our camp, right? Where it's like that is their measuring stick, their personal measuring stick. Right?
Yeah.
I have one. I know I'm a measuring stick for somebody else on my team, and they tell me, I'm gonna get you one of these days. I'm like, I know you do, and then you will, because that right there, when they're training as hard as I am, or they may do a few more workouts more than me, and then we all meet on the table, and all of a sudden I can't do the same things I used to do with that guy. I'm thinking, all right, now that motivates me to, okay, now I got to go back to the grind. It's healthy competition.
It is healthy. Yeah. It's respectful, healthy competition within a friendship and within a family. So for me, I am, and this goes for most pollers, probably you as well. Yep. I am not the same guy at practice as when I'm at competition and it matters. So you might pin me all day at practice, or you might not, irregardless. But on the day of, if we're in competition and I signed up and I put money on this and it's real, you're my enemy across the table. You could be blood, you could be my brother, you could be my son, you could be my dad. But for those 5 seconds on the table, you're my enemy. And I'm going to give you all of my aggression. I'm going to give you everything I got. So if I lose to you, you're a bad mofo because I'm giving you everything at competition.
Now, I'll say this, and you tell me if you go through the same thing, because I know I can create bad habits when it comes to that, okay? So what I mean by that is that, okay, well, I'm just kind of like, I'm not doing tournament-style stuff because it's like if I'm always doing tournament hits at practice with something I used to do when I first started, then nobody learns anything, right?
No.
I'm not learning nothing. No. The person across the table is not learning anything. So sometimes being one of the stronger people, in my camp, I just give everything. And then, I'm like, all right. And at that point, I'm just using my strength. Okay, can I hold this person out here and bring them back? Mm-hmm. Thing. Now, the problem is that me being so passive at practice, okay, when I get to a tournament, I can sometimes be passive at a tournament. I'm like, well, what the hell? But there's also that switch in me where it's like going, okay, I'm like this. I'm like, and some people, and this will happen when you practice with a certain person, even a group outside, even with a group that's in another city in Oregon, and they're smacking you to the pad and stuff, man, hey, you feeling strong today? And then you go to one of those local tournaments and you meet up with that person. It's a whole different ball game, and they're scratching their head going, dude, what the hell? I just pinned you X amount of times a few weeks ago. Yeah, because
that was not the game. We weren't game face. Take for example, so my last super match that was a real super match, not a team super match, a real super match at FitCon was with the Utah super monster, super heavyweight named Cody Hunick. The Utah guys know who he is. He's been pulling for.
Hey, Scott, before you go any further, big shout out to Dan Plexman. It is 2 a.m. in Greece. I'm jet lagged big time. Time for bed. Good night, Jody and everyone. So in case you haven't noticed, my man Plexman out of Canada, he's in the IFA world. So it's 2 a.m. in Greece, which means it is Wednesday morning over there. So there you have it.
I got
Plex, have a good night, my friend.
over there. I got Kevin Butts over there. I got David Wilson over there. I got people over there right now in Greece, and I'm kind of jealous.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of jealous.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up. I want to kind of get that out there. So
no, you're good. But going back to, we never finished the conversation of super matches, and to go along with what you were just saying of practice wins and real competition.
Yeah.
So all respect, shout out to Cody Hunick. He's as strong as an ox. Bob Brown will tell you, Bob Brown's trained him for 17 and a half years. Okay. He's been at Bob Brown's barn being trained. He's a monster. He's a super heavyweight. Now, we ended up having a super match because the guy, Jeff Kirby, that puts the FitCon on, called me and said, we have a few women's super matches, but no men's. Would you do a super match? And he named a few people, and I reached out to a few people, and they said no. And then he reached out. He says, you know Cody Hunick? I said, oh yeah, I know. And he reached out to him. He said, yeah. And we did it. Well, up to that point, all those years, Cody Hunick just smashed me in practice. I couldn't even take center of the table. I had nothing for the guy. He has all these years, all this experience, and rightfully so. So I wanted the challenge. I took it. We started the super match. I lost my first round to 2 elbow fouls.
Ooh, ouch.
Then I went 3 wins. So I won the super match. But different from practice to it means something to me on this day. It meant something to me on that day. Nobody thought I could do it or would do it except for myself. And I did.
Well, I'll tell you what, because speaking of super matches, for the first time ever, we have something that needs to be said, you know. Okay. And I'm trying to figure this thing out, you know, because I'm trying to make sure that, you know, can we do this? So you tell me, when we talk about super matches, because you're getting better and better and you're learning from them. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, everybody, we got breaking news, okay? So, Scott, what do you want to share to me and everybody in the chat?
For the first time. Nobody knows except for the promoters and the guys that are doing this.
Right. Let's have it.
Yes, I'm the underdog, but I'm pulling Wayne Withers from Mississippi. Right arm best of 5 at the Utah State Championship in this February. I will be ready no matter what happens. And the thing I like about this match, and I know the man and I've met the man, is we pull exactly the same. Style for style. We pull exactly the same. We start out in a high top roll. We end up in a low hand, and we go for the press. We pull exactly the same. He's a bad dude. He's like 6'6". I'm only like 6'1" or 6'2". He's a way longer arm. He's got the top roll advantage. He's got the years. There's nobody in this game he hasn't beat one time or the other. Nobody in this game that Wayne Withers hasn't put down.
So Archdog says Wayne is back, but not the same after his injury. And I will say this, because not too long ago, Wayne had pulled Mega Mike, a guy I'm pulling this weekend, by the way, and at Knuckles Up. Yeah. And as I'm watching the event, I'm in awe because I'm like going, like, wow, did Mike just beat Wayne like that, like a hot knife through butter?
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, and if you want any kind of, you know, inkling or any kind of, you know, information, you can always go back to that match. But I know that he's bringing up some guys from Mississippi, is he not?
He's bringing his team. Rumor has it he's bringing his Mississippi team, and they're all strong. They're all good people. I know them. Now I got to give a shout out to a guy named Marshall Thompson. A couple of years ago, Marshall Thompson, he paid me to fly all the way to Ohio for a Buckeye Brawl. I don't know why he picked me. He said he saw some videos that impressed him, and he wanted me to be the guest He wanted me to be the guest arm wrestler. And I went out there and I met Brandon Elsesser. I met Wayne Withers, and I met a bunch of dudes like that over there. Right. And made friends. And that day, I went about 50-50. That day, I went about 50-50 on my performance in the tournament. And I was happy with that because I was still pretty new, learning how to pull.
Right.
And me and Wayne Withers headed off, and I think we're friends. I'd like to call him a friend. And so when I heard he was coming to Utah through when I practiced at Angela Miller's Attitude Arm Sports, she was telling me, and she puts on the Utah State, she said, he's coming. And I said, well, I want to pull him for a right hand if you say it's okay. She said, it's okay. I reached out to him and said, let's do it. Let's do it.
Nice.
And so we're gonna do it. No matter what happens, I'm gonna give him everything I got. I'm gonna train up to that day and be on point on my peak. And whatever happens, happens. But if you don't believe in yourself, why try? Why do it? So the whole world could tell me I'm gonna lose, and I probably will, but I don't think so. I think I'm gonna beat him.
All it takes is that one pin or that one win, and it's gonna catch somebody's eye. And like, okay, because you said it yourself. The dude came out of there. You said Marshall Thompson at Ohio.
Yeah.
Had you come out to the Buckeye Classic, and it's like going, okay, well, and before I go any further, I gotta say this because anybody out there, no matter what state you pull from, it's always good to venture out of your time zone, release your area to go somewhere else, because I'm telling you, it's a different kind of experience. So when you went to Ohio and you're like,
it's more enjoyable. It's more enjoyable.
Yes.
Whether it's on your dime or on somebody else's, either way, I don't care. It's enjoyable. And if you're going to take like your wife, your cheerleader, your fan, your wife with you, and you're going to make a vacation where I'm also polling, I'm going to make a 3-day, a 4-day vacation out of it. Tell me what could be better than that. As a poller, what could be better than that?
That's what my wife and family do. We just sit there and we kind of make a trip out of it, But I'll say this though, as Melanie, and she'll watch the show later, your biggest supporter.
Yeah.
So is there any advice out there you can give the people when you have a significant other who is all up in this sport? Because I'm telling you, it takes a very special significant other to really be on board and be behind you, because I know sometimes this sport can be, can suck the life out of people, depending on how you balance. How do you balance that? I guess what I'm getting at.
So here's the thing. 99 other women, if I would have married them, would have divorced me by now for my dedication to the sport. I spend so much time training that it's ridiculous, and so much time obsessing that it's ridiculous.
Right.
But I made a decision long ago. I'm going to go as far as I can go in this sport. Okay. Genetic wise, training wise. I believe the amount of time you put into something's what you get back. Hard work. I've been a hard worker in everything I've ever done, especially in competition. So I'm not saying I'm going to be the best in the world, but I'm going to find out. So when I go to my beautiful wife, Melanie, and I'm like, okay, so this is what it is, and this is what it takes. Now I could train less, and I could be just an arm wrestler, just an average Joe arm wrestler, and I could train less, and we could have more time.
Right.
Or I can do what I'm telling you I know it takes and be better than an average Joe arm wrestler and be somebody knows my name because I want them to. And I'm going to take you with me, and I'm going to make vacations out of it. And I'm going to do my best that you enjoy meeting the people and making new friends and traveling around and seeing the world because of this sport. She supports me. I married the right one, and good luck to the rest of you.
Well, I'll tell you what, this sport has taken me to places I didn't even think I would go. Like, I've gone to tournaments in Canada. You
went across the pond. The pond.
Went across the pond.
Armor. Yeah.
So, and I in my garage where we train at, I got a map on my wall, and I put little pin marks of all the places I've been to. And I've been to Ohio, Arnold Classic. I've been to Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, everywhere out west, Colorado, Arizona, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, you name it, I've been there. And I'm telling you, it's awesome to do. And when you bring your wife, it's like, so when we went to the qualifier in Fort Worth for the World Series of Arm Wrestling back in July, so it was like, all right, cool. So we took our adult kids, we go out there, we fly to Dallas, we get our hotel, this, that, and the other. We competed, and after the competition was done, we did our own thing. Now, granted, within that weekend, we hung out the stockyards. That was awesome. But then we drove to San Antonio, spent a day down there. I didn't realize how far Fort Worth and San Antonio. That's an 8-hour drive round trip, by the way. That's actually might be even more. It's 6 hours to get down there. So, yeah, it was a long trip. Yeah. But it was the experience. And I think, because prior to me arm wrestling, I did the semi-pro football. I did the rugby and that kind of stuff. And, when your body can't take that no more, it's like, all right, I need something to do. Yeah. And for one, this sport, as much as people want to sit there and nag at it, well, guess what? It kept me out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. I could be that guy going to the bar, getting hammered, shooting pool, whatever. But when you get into a sport like this, it kind of goes, okay, now it kind of says, I got something to do now. There's a reason why I'm working out so hard.
Competition of any kind is good for a man or a woman. Yeah. And this competition is the one I choose that I see the camaraderie, I see the family, I see the friends, I see the traveling together, I see the big picture to me is this is nothing but positive. Nothing but positive. And if you see trash talking, it's usually out of fun. And if you see drama, we can look the other way, right? It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Like this show right here, like I've watched every ArmTalk. Okay. Even went back and watched the ones before. Like I've watched every ArmTalk.
Right. Appreciate it, by the way.
This is what it's about to me. Okay. We're not just putting our arm on the table. We're not just getting in a plane and flying, but this just getting the word out there of, hey, people, come and join us. Come and arm wrestle. Come and see if you like it. And if we attract a few, that's worth it, right? Because this life, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade the life of an arm wrestler and because of the people. Yeah. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy.
It's hard to explain to the common folk what we do and why we do it. It's really difficult to explain. If you're in it, you know.
It's feelings.
Right.
The feelings, and, the feelings it gives me.
Because when I was brand new in the sport, across the table, this guy, he's looking at me, he's doing his thing. I'm thinking, this dude don't even know me and he hates me and stuff. But then when it's all said and done, the tournament's over, we do after pulling. He was like, hey, bro, where you from? I'm thinking like, oh, we're good now. I thought this guy want to sit there and take you out back. He's going to throw down, but it's cool. And that was the psychological part of the sport I wasn't aware about. And now, fast forward now, I get it,
People have called me. Friends, arm wrestling friends called me and watched some of my super matches. Went, what was your guys' beef? What was your buildup? What was the problem? I said, there was no beef. There was no problem. I loved him before we got on the table. Mm-hmm. I loved him after we got off the table. There was no beef. And people are like, oh, the way you were looking, the way you were acting, the aggression you were given was like you guys had a problem. No. I pull better if I give physical aggression. That's me. I pull better giving you for 5 minutes, 5 seconds, whatever we're on the table. You're my enemy. I'm going to rip you across the table if I can. And then after, I'm going to give you a hug, buy you a drink, whatever.
Right. Now, I'll say this. I don't mind trash talking here and there, but I know with some of the new people, some of the newer people, they see that and they think, oh, is that what it takes? I can do that. I think, okay. And some need to realize this. Now, I'm going to say this now. So I'm all for trash talking, but there's some rules to that. And I think people don't know some unwritten rules.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind if people trash talk me.
Right.
But I got some hands off. Don't come after the family. Right.
Amen.
My wife, off limits. My kids, off limits.
Yeah. There's a difference, right? There's a difference between scratching your ass or ripping a hole in it.
Right. If you want to come after me, that's cool because the match is between me and you, not you and my wife or my kid. They off limits, man. Don't do that because then it gets out of control. Then after
that's different. And I don't personally do that, and I wouldn't accept that. But if it's just between me and you, The pullers, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do, it's cool.
Yeah. You know, and I think some of the newer people, you know, probably need to see this and just understand, like, okay, what they see on social media, because I came into sport pre-social media, right?
Yeah.
Where not everybody posted their stuff on Facebook and
right,
you know, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, then it was like, all right, cool. Can you imagine what it was like then? But I came in that era like I came in when we were still using Velcro straps.
Yuck.
You know, yeah, I came in that era. So, you know, that kind of stuff, you kind of go, okay, well, you know, we can do that, but it's just like what the new people see now with all the trash talking is that they think that that's what it takes to either A, get a super match. That's what it takes to sell a match. And, you know, to a certain degree, they're right. But at the same time, it's like, it's a certain way you do it, you know?
Yeah, and there's a difference. There's a line. We can get to that line and it'll sell tickets. But if we get past that line, it's lost. It's fun.
Right. So, yeah. But man, so how do you feel with Wayne Withers? Because you got nothing but time between now and then. Okay. I know you got some events before that though too.
Okay. I might be as delusional as Ryan Bowen, but I feel extremely confident right where I'm at and right where I'm going by February with my right hand. My left hand is nothing to talk about, but my right hand, I feel, and everybody can laugh and I'll laugh with you. That's okay. But I feel if I lose all the matches, I'm going to give the guy a fight. He's going to know I showed up to fight.
Right.
He's going to know I either showed up to win, which I hope, or he's going to know I showed up to fight. Either way, I'm going out on my shield and I'm putting it all on the table. And this is respect. Love the man. I'm not shit talking. I'm not bashing. I'm nothing like that. Just saying my goal always, whoever you are, my goal is to beat you. My goal is to win, or I wouldn't be in a competition sport. So that's not disrespectful. That man's been in the sport. I don't even know. I think he's been in the sport like 25 years or something like that.
He's been to Worlds. I think he went to IFA Worlds in France one year. Not last year, but the year before. I think he went to France.
He did. And I've seen all of his videos because I'm that crazy guy that if we're going to a super match, if there's videos on you, I'm studying you.
Right.
I'm studying you. And that's how I know we pull exactly the same. That's how I know we pull exactly the same. And those are the matches I like. Now, I know other people like to watch a hooker against the top roller. Me personally, I want to see if I'm in the match, I want top roll for top roll. I want outside for outside because then it comes down to the stronger arm. In my opinion, stronger wrist, the stronger hand. And if we're getting in that strap, which I love so much, it's coming down to the stronger arm.
Right.
Yeah. And I love that strap. Oh, I seek that strap. Yeah.
How is it? I'm assuming your strap game is good. So
yeah. Well, the thing about me, I got a thick hand, but I got short fingers, so I don't get no coverage. So if you're top rolling, I'm top rolling. We're slipping, not on purpose. Right. We're slipping. Now, when I get the strap, I get the connection to my arm. That's me. That's me.
So what other tournaments you got on the horizon coming up?
Okay, November 2nd, World Series of Arm Wrestling Finals, California, right? You'll be there. I'll be there.
San Diego.
Greg.
Well,
Sharp,
I'll be there.
I'll
be there this weekend, and I'll be there November 2nd. So it's like, okay, it'll be what, 3 trips to San Diego in 12 months.
Well, you've been doing a lot with that, and I'm glad you have. And when I say that, World Series of Arm Wrestling, locked and loaded, Greg Sharp. And I'm glad you have, because anybody that's a puller that wants to be a real puller, no matter what level you are, Greg Sharp is bringing back what we all wish we had. Again, WAL is falling off. Everything else, Game of Arms is falling off. And so who's picking up? Greg Sharp. So I'm with Greg Sharp. If you're picking up and nobody else is, you got all of my support. I will market you. I will be there, and you're a part of that. And I'm happy for you and Jamie Sheldon. And I see stuff with Dawn Underwood now, with Donnie and stuff like that, Hollywood and different things. And I'm happy to see all that because we need the spotlight again. And we need to go that way. Why? Not only because we love the sport, because people need to make a little bit of money. The top guys. I'm not talking about myself. I love money. We all love money. But the top guys that earned it need to make a little money.
Yeah.
You know, the people that spend in it forever, like Cody Merritt, Robert Baxter, George, those guys, and you guys have been doing it, Justin Green, been doing it forever. Bob Brown. They need to make a little bit of money, in my opinion. And this is an avenue to make a little bit of money for being an athlete.
Here's the thing, and just to give you guys a heads up, so like last year's finals, World Series of Arm Wrestling, I mean, think about this. We all know Team Utah was represented because, you know, Jordan, Cody, Justin Green, they were there. Steve Black, Paul Cruz from New York, they came all the way across country. They were there. Corey West was there. Brent Rockers, obviously Sheldon, myself. List goes on and on of the names that were there. Yeah. And the thing is, people, when you have these qualifiers, you know, you kind of go, okay. And because the Texas group was there, Danny Gillian, you know, Nathan Williamson, Anthony Lowe, you know, like I said, the list goes on and on. And the thing is, we have all these qualifiers, and this year is going to be off the hook because guess who's coming to the finals? And you can just exclude me in this conversation, but you think Corey West is going to be there.
Yeah.
Cody Merritt's going to be there. Ron Bath will be there.
Yeah.
Travis Bajan will be there. Don Underwood will be there. Just that super heavyweight class of the names I just named.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And when you're there in person, you're like in awe. You're like a kid in a candy store. So think about that, Scott. All those just the super heavyweights I named are going to be there.
Money brings out the monsters, rightfully so. And television opportunity brings out the monsters, rightfully so.
Right.
Rightfully so. And that's so I'm all behind Greg Sharp. I'm all behind the show. I'm all behind it. And I'm glad that there's something picking back up. And so good on him. My next tournament, my next tournament's close after that. That's my personal sentimental favorite tournament I've done for the last few years. The John Brezink Cup. Salt Lake City, Utah. I placed third at the last one, but guess who I placed with in the winner's circle? Pablo, first place. Robert Baxter, second place. And me, third place. And I was so okay with that third place because it was a day, man. It was a fight of the supers. And the super heavyweights, I dare say, are the biggest and the strongest, or can be potentially the strongest because they're the biggest. And that's why we have weight classes. So when I started in this game, I was already in the supers. And then when I started playing with the supers, I went, you know, this is really hard because I went right to the pros fast because Justin said, if you win first place in novice, then you could go to the pros. So I went first place, pro. So I jumped right in, both feet baptized by fire. And it's hard when you jump in and you got people like Cody Merritt and all those kind of big supers. And Jordan still pulls up. He pulls in the supers. Justin Green, he pulls up. And Robert Baxter is a super. So when you jump right in to your local, that's what you're pulling all the time, every tournament, you learn really quick that you're amongst people that aren't human. You're amongst demigods, and you better figure it out and you better train harder.
Well, it's almost that sink or swim because those names you just mentioned, you're like going, wow, I made a mistake. Let's see here. 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And I went to the Kenny Bostic Memorial up in Hawthorne, Nevada, right? So that's a different weight class. And here's the thing about arm wrestling. There's different weight classes, mean depending on where you are, you're on the cusp of even being a heavyweight or super heavyweight. So here, let me give you a story. So this one put on by Bill Collins, NAL, or UAL. And, his weight classes, 232 heavyweight, but then 233 and over is supers. Whereas any other weight class, 233, you're still in a 242 heavyweight class, right?
242 plus, right, yeah.
So I was like 237. I didn't lose the last 4 pounds, fine, whatever. So I pulled the Masters and I pulled the open class, right?
Yeah.
I got one win in the open class. A Utah guy, teammate of yours, Kimber.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the win. Guess who my 2 losses were because I didn't lose that last 4 pounds?
Do tell.
Cody Merritt, Tony Tomlinson.
Tony Tomlinson's a bad dude. I've never pulled Tony. I asked him for a super match, and then we kind of fell off. We were in touch. I've watched a lot of him. Yeah. He seemed like he's a strong fella.
So it goes back to what you were saying earlier about why we have weight classes. So that right there was like, oh crap, because I didn't lose those last 4 pounds. I'm like, now I'm in there with, and that super heavyweight class also had Ron Bath, Robbie Topi, Joe Meek. I just never got a chance to pull those guys because I was already bounced out. But again, just that class. Think about that. I'm in there.
Yeah.
Merritt, Tomlinson, Bath, Topi, and there's a few other guys too. So I mean, all that talent in nowhere, Nevada.
And the way that our sport goes is you get to use your body weight. You get to put your weight behind your arm and behind your hand and use all of your body weight. So that's another factor. Yeah. Me and Robbie Topi had a conversation. He says, I still feel so sorry for you. I said, what are you talking about? He says, when you came in, you were already a super. He goes, when I came in, I started at the bottom weight and I worked my way up over the years, over 20 years. He goes, you came right into the lion's den. And I said, you're right. I know I have. So a decision I made. So 3.5 years ago, I walked in the supers. I was about 250. 250. And I knew that at my lightest, if I went down to my lightest, I'd still be in the supers. So I made a decision. If you're stuck in the supers, get super. So on purpose, I got bigger over 3.5 years. I'm eating meat and then meat for dessert. Like I'm a Tongan or like a Samoan, like my Tongan and Samoan friends. And that's why they're so big and strong. Isn't just genetics, it's the diet. So I'm eating meat. So I'm eating like Brian Shaw. I'm eating like Eddie Hall. I mean, the shopping cart's full of meat and they're like, oh, this is costing me $500,000 a year. I'm eating like that.
Well,
and so I went from 250 3.5 years ago to now I'm bouncing between 285 and 300. 285 and 300. On competition day, I try to be 300. Now, those dudes I'm pulling are 400. They're 400 pounders.
Well, it's unlimited. So you never know. It's unlimited, right?
Yeah. To this guy.
Yeah. So when I first got into the sport, I was a 198 puller. Shocker, right? Everybody in the chat. Yes, I pulled at the 198 weight class when I first got into the sport. That's because, when I was done playing, all the other sports, rec league sports, I just did to stay in shape. I wasn't really working out.
Right.
And then I got into the sport. I'm thinking, okay, I like this stuff. And, when I went to my first national, I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like going, damn, these people are fucking strong. They're big. I'm thinking, I better do something. So I started working out. And then as I got older, hey, guys, I'm telling you, when you get older, you put on the pounds. I'm almost 50. So when you put on the weight, you're like going, okay, your metabolism slows up. I love to eat. My wife's an awesome cook. So that's just what it is, And now here I am at 240. Now, all of it ain't muscle. It's a little bit of fluff, a little bit of muscle. It goes hand in hand. I'm okay with that. I've been dancing around like, oh, I need to go ahead and drop some weight. But I got some other opportunities on the horizon coming up that I can't mention right now.
Okay. All right. That's hard.
Probably not a good idea for me to drop the 220, if you catch my drift. So it's kind of like, all right, cool, whatever. So then at that point, it's all about just getting stronger, get the workout in there, work that hand and wrist, and just, not get obese, but just kind of stay within limitations because the World Series of Arm Wrestling, love that tournament. Well, guess what? 239 is the class, right? 239.
Yeah.
Because anything above that is the supers. I've already experienced that before. I don't want to do it again, right?
Yeah, it's a hard day.
That's where my cutoff is.
It's a hard day every day.
Yeah. Right. Well, here's the funny part, Scott. This weekend in San Diego with my match with Mecca Mike, there's also a tournament there. Well, that one's 245, so I got some room to play with. But I really got to, I'm waking up around 240, so I really got to kind of watch what I do this week, that way I don't venture into 245 and go, crap, here we go again. But, I just want to kind of hang out in that area, so, it happens. And Ryan says he was 228 the morning of the Super 64. So,
okay.
I mean, hey, I went there. Not in the 242 class. That didn't mean I weighed 242. I was just in that 242 class, and
right.
that I don't qualify if they had a left-hand version.
Yeah.
Just to give you guys some insight, right hand is just arthritis, bone spurs, whatever.
Me and you are the exact opposite.
Yeah.
All right. You got your left.
Yeah. Mr. Cliff Notes says Washington State tournament date. Yes, that will be December 7th, Vancouver, Washington. I'm sure a flyer will be coming out soon by Arm Sports Entertainment. And
Tim
by
Talmadge.
the way,
shout out to Tim Talmadge.
Oh, in case some people didn't know, here's the thing. So not only is it going to be an Arnold Classic qualifier, mind you, but the next 64-man Super Series will be at Washington State, the 198-pound class. So
that's what I heard.
Ryan. So Bussier, Ryan, you say you cut to 198. If you can make out to Washington, that'll be the next Corey Miller's Aries System Super 64, 198-pound class, December 7th, Washington State, along with the tournament itself being an Arnold Classic qualifier. So I'm telling you right now, you need to be there come December. That's only a hop, skip, and jump for me. So
that's so cool.
I'm telling you. So do you plan on being? Oh no, you got the Brazilian Cup in November.
Oh yeah. So I got with you. I got November 2nd in Cali. Then I got November 16th here local for me, Salt Lake City, Utah, which I've started out playing in the Brazilian Cup. I will always go to the Brazilian Cup, and it's local for me. It's local.
Right.
And that one means something to me because, as most of us, I'm a Brazilian fan. The first Brazilian Cup I went to was during John's comeback, and he was there, Poland. Recently, he came out to Utah, and I got to Poland for the first time. I got a YouTube channel. I put it on there.
How was that experience?
That was so cool. It was so cool to pull the goat. So cool. It was. I mean, you got to watch the video. It was just awesome.
You do know I have one of those Brazilian Cup mugs, right?
So do I. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Of course, and for people who don't know, the Brazilian Cup's always in November, usually the second week in November.
Bob Brown puts it on.
Yeah. Midvale, Utah, right? Cheers to you.
Yep. I got my Bob Brown owns that place. Yeah.
I got my 2012 mug, and the reason why I got that is because that year I was scheduled to go, and then something happened at work, and I had to go there, and I was like, crap. So I had to cover work, so I couldn't go. But the guys who went, I was going to go with, brought me back a cup. So all right. So I got the Brazil mug and everything. All right. To this day, I still love to drink my beer out of it, So I have a good time with it. But it's an awesome event. But I have to ask you this, Scott. So that's November
16th.
16th?
Yeah, it's one of my son's birthdays, actually. My son Bridger, it's his birthday that day.
So that's 2 weeks that separate between the World Series of Arm Wrestling, the WSA Finals, and the Brazilian Cup. Are you going to have enough rest time?
Yes. So I'm a guy that chooses to rest 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If I'm planning on the tournament or I'm planning on the super match, I will rest for 2 weeks, not one. Now, this Idaho thing, I just won undefeated. I didn't even know for sure if I was going to go, so I pulled twice that week.
Okay.
I went there with a tired arm. Now, behind the scenes revelation. I tore a pec that day. I don't know, like first time ever. My right pec was black, blue, purple, and just destroyed. And that was in my Justin Green match.
Oh wow! Well, I did see the match you guys had.
I don't know if he knows that or not. I felt right when it happened. I surged for a pin, and I felt it. And obviously, it was a small tear. Big enough tear that it black and blued everything, but a small enough tear that I've been pulling since. It hasn't stopped me from pulling.
Are you okay though?
I'm fine.
Okay, because anytime you get a injury and there's some discoloring, it's something serious.
Yeah. It looked really bad. It looked worse than it felt.
Okay.
It looked worse than it felt. Yeah. It looked hideous.
Well, that's good. Cause I'm like, man,
Yeah.
because when you take 2 weeks off, that means as soon as you get done in San Diego, then you're taking 2 weeks off. That means you're not going to train or anything.
2 weeks off to hit the Brazilian Cup, which I've been lucky, blessed, and the stars have been just right that I've performed good at the Brazilian Cups. I've performed pretty good. And
so what's after that?
February, Wayne Withers, Utah. That's the Utah Championship, and I'm focused in on my super match. Yes, I will pull the tournament right and left, but my focus is our super matches before the tournament.
Right.
So my focus is on Wayne Withers, our Mississippi boy. That's my focus for that day.
So let me ask you something, because I've done this a lot, and I'm trying to gauge myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, other times it's not. When one has a super match, and they also pull the tournament the same day, you know, you kind of ask yourself, okay, what's more important? How does that work for you?
So I may or may not pull the tournament, to be honest. I haven't made up my mind. Like I just told you 5 seconds ago, I'm pulling the tournament right and left.
Right.
It's like this. I learned a lesson recently with Cody Hunick. I did sign up for the tournament right and left. Mm-hmm. We had much more of a war in our super match than I expected. It was just a complete and total long drug out war of a fight for our best of 5, and I won. Right. And then when I got in the tournament, my right was so dead that a little girl could have pinned me. A little girl could have pinned. No, I'm serious. And some young kids that couldn't ever do anything with me did pin me that day in the tournament, because I destroyed and pumped. My arm was pumped. My hand was pumped. My wrist was pumped. And I went over to Cody Merritt, my coach, and I said, please, sir, remind me to never do this again. He said, well, I said, sign up for the tournament when I have a super match at the same show.
Right.
And you know what he said? Because you know Cody, so you won't be surprised what he said to me. He goes, well, you shouldn't have taken that long to whip him. You should have just got it over with. You like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, haha, you're so funny, dude. Like, that guy's strong as an ox.
So, and the reason why, here, I'll give you an example. When we came down to Utah, right? Never been there. Want to sink my teeth in some of the Utah pools. You hear all the stories, right?
Yeah.
So, you remember Friday night, my super match was with Jordan Seal. Saturday afternoon, my super match with Justin Green.
Yeah.
Now, I could have just stopped and go, okay, I'm good, right? But it was like, okay, I'm already here. Why not pull a tournament?
Right.
So I guess like, my question would be like, does one, and even in the chat, if you guys want to chime in, feel free. When you have the super match, because we all know the matches happen before the tournament, right? Does one put all their eggs in the basket for the super match and then kind of go, okay, whatever happens, happens?
Yes. So right now, because of my lesson on that day I thought, whatever happens with the super match, win or lose, I didn't expect to be that beat up. That I thought I would still perform. I thought I'd still perform, win or lose. I thought I'd still perform in the tournament. No, I put all my eggs and everything I had into beating that guy in the super match and won. That now I should not have put my arm on the table. Did anyway, because I'm addicted to arm wrestling. Okay.
Well, so anyway, you pull.
But all I cared about was my reflection of winning that super match. So, you know, I got a trophy that said super match champion, blah, blah, blah. That's what I cared about, right? That's what I cared about. Yeah. That's what I cared about. So I did with my left, and we all know my left is garbage. I did pull third place left.
Right.
Nothing right. Just got whooped on right.
Well, here's the thing, because this sport can be very fickle. And what I mean by that is the fact that you could have a super match, right? Mm-hmm. And because this happened to me before, and I'll pull the super match, I put all my energy into that. Then I'm saying, okay, well, I'm here. I'll go ahead. I'll put my name in hat for the tournament.
Right.
And then you got somebody coming in, you know, I'm not 100% because I done did this match.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you get somebody fresh. Oh, this is my chance to get Jody. Whack, you know, and then they whack me. I'm thinking, hey, man, good job. Yep. And now it's like, you know,
now they got that feather in their hat.
Jody, this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, okay, you got me, you know. Yeah. Some people kind of say, yeah, but I had a super match, you know. And I've come to the grips where it doesn't really matter because in this sport,
you chose to jump in the tournament. You chose to jump in the tournament anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you got to win, you got to win.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make no excuses about, well, here's the reason why. And you tell me if this makes sense.
Right.
The reason why I don't make excuses as far as, well, I had a super match is because, I know, the chat knows that we're all going to have to pull anyway when the tournament's done.
Yeah. Right. No matter what.
Do you agree?
No matter what. We're all gonna get on the after pull.
Right. So why would it matter? I mean, like I said, if they get a win on me, they get a win on me. That's cool. No big deal,
The only reason it matters nowadays is because of Aries. Now, if you care about that, I do. Mm-hmm. If you care about that, that's where it becomes a problem, is you're setting yourself up for failure. You're jumping into a super match with a world elite puller. Mm-hmm. That's your choice. And now I'm going to go pull whoever, and they are going to probably pin me because I just smashed hamburgered my arm.
Right.
And now that's going to reflect, no matter what, that's going to reflect on the records to the public. So that's a personal choice. So my last time I did this, I said, not doing it again. Now I'm so stupid. I'm going to do it again. And then when it gets closer, I'm going to make a decision. And I might make the decision, I only pull the super match.
Right.
That would be smart. That would be the smarter.
But let me ask you this,
somebody like Wayne Withers.
You're in Utah,
mm-hmm.
and you're pulling Wayne Withers. So now, if this was in
Bodie, I got to go pull Jordan. I got to go pull all those monsters right after.
Well, let me ask you this, though. If you're in Utah, your own backyard, and you're pulling Wayne Withers super match, yes, you can pull the match, put everything you got in there, and kick back and watch the tournament. However, let's just say you're in Wayne Withers country, Mississippi. Right. You make that long flight over there. Are you just going to put a super match, or are you going to be like, well, you know what? I came this far. I might as well see what's going on.
The addiction in me, I'm going to pull the tournament.
Right. And
no
that's
doubt.
just it.
No doubt. I'm going to pull the tournament.
Yep. I mean, I've done that to where, like look at last year's Washington State tournament, right?
Yeah.
I pulled, because I didn't pull right hand because my right hand is pretty much trash these days. So mm-hmm. I pulled the super match, I pulled the Masters, and I pulled the Open. All one arm. So, my whole left arm was thrashed. But, let's see here. I won my super match, took first left-hand Masters, left-hand Open. I took like fourth or fifth or something like that. Maybe in sixth. I don't even know. But, so I put everything in this one arm. I was smoked, but, I still had a good time. I knew what I was getting myself into. I mean, here's my thing. I will say this, and not a lot of people will admit that. Paul Stevens in the chat, what's up, buddy? My goal in this thing is to be one of the best Masters puller. Now, I know some people tend to frown on that. Fine, whatever, but
I don't frown on that. I don't frown on that at all.
Right. And I say that because if I want to become a national champion one day, it's going to be in the Masters. If I want to become a world champion someday, it's going to be in the Masters, right? And hell, I'm like a year and a half. I'll be 5 months. I'll be 49. So I'm knocking on the door at Grandmasters, which is shockingly,
Well, everybody's heard of, especially arm wrestlers, don't mess with old man strength. And that's real
thing.
Good night. Look at the GOAT. Look at the GOAT. Look at Baxter. Look at the ages in this sport. This is an old man strong sport. This is. So when I get old, I might be strong.
Yeah.
I pull the Masters. I do pull the Masters when it's 40 and over.
Yeah.
I'm in 40s. So I do like Idaho. I pulled the Masters and then pro right and pro left. But when I hit that 50 and over, I'm going to pull that too. When I hit that 60 and over, I'm going to pull that too. No shame.
Right.
Old man strength in this sport. If people don't know about it, they're not pullers.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have no qualms about that, and I've had a few, I tell people, hey, I got a second place IFA world medal in my drawer over here. And they'll be like, yeah, but it's Masters. I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's even better.
you know, and they like frown upon that.
Don't mess with old man strength.
You know,
I mean, John Brzenk is 60 or 61. Okay, and I mean, I'm not going to tell you what Robert Baxter's age is because I got to see him all the time. But and Bob Brown and
that's another one. You know, Bob. I mean,
Cody Merritt just turned 50. Merritt just turned 50. So
there you have it. That's my whole point. Like you don't sleep on the veteran guys. You know, I mean, because it's
Jordan Seal just turned 40, so he's in the first step of the Masters.
Right.
So
he's there. Whether he pulls it or not is something different. But
but I'm just saying, like that's where the strong guys in the sport is in those age groups.
Right.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. So, my friend, anything else you want to add before we go ahead and put a bow tie on this episode?
No, I would simply like to finish this off with throwing a shout out to I'm going to forget half the people I should thank. But I'm going to hurry and thank a bunch real quick, like the academies, like Academy Award. Thank you for inviting me on the show. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for treating me so good. Thank my wife and my children and all of my family on both sides and every side for supporting me. Without family support, I wouldn't be able to train all of the time I do. So
you got that right.
My wife, my kids, my family, I thank them. And then I started out at the beginning of the show thanking Justin Green. He started me on my foundation of a top roll. He started me, period, in the practicing. I'm going other directions now with Cody Merritt, but Justin still comes to practice with us. Jordan Seal still practices with us. We go down to Bob Brown. Shout out Bob Brown. Kevin Buttes from Idaho. Tactical Arms, Team Spur, Attitude Arm Sports.
There you go.
I missed a lot of people and a lot of things, but I love y'all. Thank you.
My friend, awesome time to have you on here. Hey, we got to do it again.
Anytime, my friend. Anytime.
And so I will see you on November 2nd in San Diego.
Okay. We'll go to dinner.
Yes, sir. My friend, take care. We'll talk soon.
Later. Bye.
Take care.